Every day is a new beginning, a chance to erase unhappy endings. When I wake, I can make 1,000 dreams come true. I can use my faith in God in everything I do, 'cause every day is new. Infinite paths to choose, the choices I make and the chances I take are based in truth, and every day is new. Every night when I go to sleep, my unconscious mind counts the blessings I read. When I sleep, my thoughts seem to work themselves on out. When I rise to greet the day, my mind is free of doubt, 'cause every day is new. Infinite paths to choose, the choices I make and the chances I take are based in truth, and every day is new. I don't get caught up in trying to make life make sense. The price that it would cost me would be too high an expense. I just pray and keep the faith, 'cause every day is new. Infinite paths to choose, the choices I make and the chances I take are based in truth, and every day is new. Yes, it's true. Every day is true. Every day is new.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sandra. What a beautiful rainy Sunday it is. It is actually Bloomsday today, and we want to just put our hearts out there to everybody who's running in the rain. I mean, it's such a great thing to get together and have community. So my name is Christine, and it's my pleasure to greet you for those here in Sanctuary and watching live stream. We welcome you and affirm that we are all one in spirit. Our guest speaker today is Stephen Towles. He's a retired Unity minister living in Coeur d'Alene. He has served 5 years in Unity Spiritual Centers over a span of... I'm sorry. He has served in 5 Unity Spiritual Centers over the span of 40 years. He has walked the Camino de Santiago twice from start to finish and has written a book titled Heaven is Walking, the Camino de Santiago. He considers himself a Camino junkie and embraces his life as a journey. His talk today is entitled Letting God Speak, and we look forward to hearing all of your messages.
Yeah.
And special thanks go out to our musicians. Today it's Sandra.
I'm it.
She's fabulous. And our media team, Byron and Wayne.
Woo.
They're extremely valuable. And to all of our volunteers that help make things happen, we appreciate you. And now we'll hear Sandra again.
Well, now I'm going to hear all of you. Hopefully, I'm going to invite you to stand and sing this. We've done it a couple times. I think it's not difficult, so here we go.
Peace before us, peace behind us, peace on before us, light behind us, light under our feet, light within us, light over us, let all around us be light. Christ before us, Christ behind us, Christ under our feet, Christ within us, Christ over us, let all around us be Christ, let all around us be Christ, let all around us be Christ.
Thank you. And with that, we're going to stay standing and meet our neighbors. Give us high fives, hugs, get to know each other.
What a drag.
Almost done. Do-do-do. Do-do-do-do. All right, now we are going to read in Unity's peace statement together. Unity stands for peace in the presence of conflict, for love in the presence of hatred, for forgiveness in the presence of injury. Unity honors the many names of God, the many paths to God, the many ways to worship God, for there is one power and presence of God, and that God loves each one of us equally. It is therefore the position of unity to urge all nations, their leaders, and to turn to God by whatever the name for guidance during these challenging times, and to pursue peace, not war, for this is what honors the God of all our faith traditions. And we have a spiritual nugget here. Life is not a problem to be solved by a mystery. Life is not a problem to be solved, but a mystery to be lived. Follow the path that is no path. Follow your bliss. Yeah. And now Stephen Towles has offered to do our meditation. We will go into meditation. Okay. Do you want me to move this? Yeah.
As we continue our journey, let's just feel the energy of this room. This truly is a divine place. This building was built with loving hands, with a vision and a purpose and a hope and a dream. It really is the manifestation of the divine presence of Spirit moving through each individual And this sanctuary is a place, over the years, has become a place of healing, a place of love, a place of powerful energy, that to step into this consciousness is to step into the presence of healing and love, to be one with Spirit, to feel our oneness with each other, to see beyond the barriers that separate us, the ideas that are different and diverse, and to love each other individually as one whole person, here on a journey of life, a journey through this physical world, a journey of creativity, a journey of openness, a journey of discovery and revelation and transformation. That we are all on this journey together, but we have our own path to follow, our own walk to walk, our own ideas to express, our own contributions to make. And we do so with the understanding that we are loving, open, dynamic, spiritual beings in a human experience, using our human body for good, using our ideas to bring life and energy and love and hope and joy to all those around us. And as we do so, we grow in spirit, we grow in love. We embody the presence of the Christ. And just allow yourself to imagine how that journey is showing up for you in your life. What doors does it open? What ideas have emerged and are continuing to emerge in your life? What directions is your vision taking you? And what obstacles might exist along the way? Obstacles that are there to be dissolved by the power of love and the presence of Spirit and the transformative powers of knowing that we are all one, that it is all good, it is all God, it is all life. And so let's take this idea, let's allow this journey to continue to unfold in our consciousness as we just move into the experience of the silence. Of the silence. And let's send a special blessing to all the Bloomsdayers. To see them having had just a wonderful experience this morning. Transformative, powerful, dynamic, energetic. Thank you, God, for this opportunity to make that connection and all the connections we make in life. And we give thanks in the name and through the power of the living Christ presence within each one of us. And so it is. Amen.
The world runs fast, the spirit slow, to where we think we need to go. When we move into passing gear, the song of love is hard to hear, till everything's so loud that we're alone with what we're missing. Listen, listen. Somewhere beneath this sea of noise, we hear the angel's whispered voice. The song is there, the words are clear, and all we need is still right here. Listen, the harmony of wings in flight, the rising of the wind at night, the breaking of the ocean waves will call the heart that's half awake. The sound of every breath we take can free a soul from prison. Just listen, listen. Somewhere beneath this sea of noise, we hear an angel's whispered voice. The song is there, the words are clear. All we need is still right here. Listen, for all we're worth, the door to heaven is here on earth. The shout for joy, the softest prayer, the sound of love is in the air. Listen, listen. Somewhere beneath this sea of noise, we hear the angel's whispered voice. The song is there and the words are clear, and all we need is still right here. Listen, listen, listen.
Thank you so much. That's beautiful. She sent me some information about what songs to choose, and I said, well, I'm not sure, and she sent it back, and I saw that song, and I thought, well, it's perfect. Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Isn't it interesting? It's really good to be here today. Carrie and I were down in Tucson this past week helping an old friend move into an assisted living situation, and so we got back last night about, 10 o'clock or something. So it's getting my energy going, when you spend a week doing that. But it's interesting how we think we're heading into one situation and we end up in a different one. For example, this morning, I've been here several times to this place, and I come down Bigelow Gulch, and I had it all worked out, and the timing and all the stuff that happens, and so I'm driving along, and all of a sudden it says detour. Isn't that what our life's about? Detours. Okay, detour. So now I'm heading north. And I thought, okay, detour, keep it going north, you know. And so I just thought, okay, just go with this. Just relax. There's plenty of time. Just, you know, you can allow Spirit to do its thing. All of a sudden, there's a road that goes this way. So I took it. And that road led me down to Freya. Took Freya. And then that led me down to Lincoln. And I got here. And it was a pleasant trip. It wasn't a problem. And that's kind of how life works. That's how life shows up. When we kind of relax and just pay attention and not get too caught up in the situation that's occurring. And that's a simple thing. But I remember back when I lived in Spokane in the 70s, and I was in the insurance business. And I remember that I was part of the Spokane JCs. And in 1975, they came in, a group of the leadership of that organization, there were about 300 members, so it's a pretty good-sized group, asked me if I would run for president of the JCs. And I was, of course, very flattered, you know how that works. And I said, sure. And I thought, well, you know, since they want me to run, that must mean that they're planning on electing me. So I got a brochure together, a little small brochure, had my picture on it, and you know, Steve Towles for president, and in the side of the brochure was kind of the things I wanted people to know about what I would do if I was elected to the position. And the JCs is kind of a training ground for politics to a large extent. That's sort of what it teaches you about that. Well, I assumed that I would win, and I didn't do a lot of campaigning. I went out and passed out a few brochures and that sort of thing. And so it came down to the night of the election, and we were meeting at at that time it was the Washington Water Power. So we're meeting at the Washington Water Power auditorium, and quite a few folks show up. There must have been, I don't know, over 100, 150 JCs there. And so I got up and did my little spiel, and the fellow that was running against me, who was more of an introverted type person, and he got up and he gave his thing, and they took the vote, and I lost. I wasn't elected. And now, I was in Unity at that time, and everything I'd been taught was, you know, don't focus on the negative, right? Focus on the positive. So I didn't have a concession speech prepared. And I was expected to get up and give a concession speech. And so I got up and I was walking to the lectern, and I thought, okay, Spirit, would you speak through me? Would you say something appropriate? It didn't even say meaningful. Would you say something appropriate? And so I got up there and I stood there, and I looked out, and then I looked down, and I happened to notice my brochure sitting there. So I picked it up, and then I turned it, and I said, you will notice there's no date on this. And the whole auditorium exploded. Everybody stood up and there, yay, standing ovation. It's like I'd won, you know. But it was kind of like what I said was exactly what needed to have been said in that moment that said, I'm okay, you know. It's just bad timing, you know. You know, there'll be plenty of time. I mean, the whole message was all right there. And so then I went on and thanked everybody and did all the stuff that you normally do, but it just changed the whole dynamic. And that's what happens. How many times has that happened to you? How many times have you come up in a given situation with a pearl of wisdom? From nowhere. It just shows up. And, you know, or how many times has your children done that? My children have done it lots of times. They'll say something just so profound in that moment that they could not have conjured that up. It's not showing up and doing that is not about being clever. It's not about intelligence, at least intellectual intelligence. It's about being willing to be humble in the moment, in the situation that you're in, and humility was not my strong suit at that point in my life, but in that moment, I was in a humbling situation. And that put me into a humbling moment, and Spirit spoke exactly what needed to be said in that situation. Life shows up and life says, here I am. This is what's happening. And there's all these things going on in our life experience. Living in a world or in a town this size, a city this size, there's lots of stuff happening all the time. All we have to do is walk out the door and we can get into a difficult situation, a challenge. Somebody does something, says something. In our experience, how do we handle the things that show up in our life? How do we trust enough to know that it's all okay? One of my favorite sayings is that it's all good even when it isn't. It's all good even when it isn't. How many times has something that we thought was not good turned out to be good? How many times has that happened in our life when we look back and say, if that hadn't happened, I wouldn't be in this place where I am right now. It happens to us all the time, but we have this need to judge something in the moment and to declare it something that it may not be. It may not feel good in that moment, but it doesn't mean that it's not exactly what needs to show up. Losing that election was exactly what needed to show up in my life to teach me something that I needed to know. I remember when I applied for ministerial school, and I was back in interviewing, and when you go into ministerial school, you go way back then, there were 93 applicants for 30 positions, all at Unity Village. And so you have an interview there was 6 or 7 ministers. And I'm in this interview, and I'm thinking, this is probably going to be just fine. But the interview wasn't going well. It just wasn't going well, and I felt like I was losing ground. I wasn't saying the right thing. I don't know what it was, and I was like, getting really frustrated. And finally they asked me a question. They said, would you tell us what your greatest strength and your greatest weakness is? I thought, my greatest strength. My greatest strength is my positive attitude. But I'd never thought about my greatest weakness. So I sat there for a moment, and they sort of absorbed that one. And all of a sudden, I said, my greatest weakness is my lack of humility. That was the moment. Spirit spoke exactly when Spirit needed to speak. I wouldn't have thought of that as a weakness. And yet there it was. And everything changed. They just looked at me completely differently because they knew that I knew what I needed to work on. And that's all they needed to know, was that this person was willing to acknowledge something. So isn't that how life shows up for us when we stop and we listen to what's going on? When I was minister at Unity in South Sound, in the Puget Sound area, one of my congregants, Don and Nellie, they were both in their 90s, and just wonderful folks, positive. Nellie was, she was just kind of a spark plug. Well, Don quickly got sick and passed away, and so Nellie calls me, and she says, we're going to have the graveside service, and just wondering if you're going to be there. And that's exactly how she said it. I thought, well, yeah, I'll be there, She said, okay. She didn't ask me to do the service. She didn't say, we'd like you to come officiate the service, So I thought, well, they must have somebody else that's going to officiate the service. So the day of the service came, and I showed up in kind of, maybe jeans and it was a graveside, so I figured it was casual. So I show up, and everybody there is dressed up. And so I find Nellie, and I go up and I say, hi, Nellie, I'm here, and she just has this kind of this glow about her, and I'm here, and I said, who's going to officiate at the service today? Because I didn't see anybody that looked like they were in charge. She goes, well, you are. I went, oh. And it was 5 minutes to start, right? I was late because I didn't think I was doing anything at the service, So in 5 minutes, I had to go find a Bible and figure out, what I was going to do. Well, you can't do it in 5 minutes. You have to show up, right? And I much prefer to be organized when I'm doing something, but I showed up, and it was and all I had to do was talk for a few. I did a prayer. I read the 23rd Psalm. Some of this kind of the standard stuff. I have a little thing that says that I usually open a memorial service with. Like a wind crying in the universe, time carries with it the names and the deeds of commoners and conquerors alike. And all that we were and all that remains are in the memories of those who cared we came this way for but a brief moment. And that came from a Twilight Zone episode, if you can believe it. But I spoke that and started the service, and it just flowed along. It was better than I could have ever imagined creating before I got there, because everybody just kind of jumped in. They got the picture that I was just doing this kind of off the cuff, and so they got up and talked about Dawn, and talked to Nellie, and we did this. Everything worked perfectly, and that's where we need to be in our life, because life shows up. We walk down our path of life. We are all on a spiritual journey and a human journey. We're on a physical, human, spiritual journey. That's our life. Every single one of us, all the time, no matter whether you're 5 years old, 50 years old, or like this little lady I met this past week in an adult family home in Tucson, 102 years old. The cutest 102-year-old. She stood next to me, and I just knew. I said, "You look like you're up to mischief." She goes, "Yes, I am." "Yes, I am." She goes, I said, "Well, we're helping somebody move here." And she goes, "Is she with it?" I said, "Yeah." "Good." She says, "I need a partner." It was just it was like that moment when you knew this is the right place. She's the perfect person. They ought to put her at the front door and greet people, because she was just great. Anyway, it doesn't matter how old you are. You're on a journey, no matter where you are, and the idea is that if we think of life as a journey, then every journey and every phase of life becomes something that we can embrace. We had this long talk with our friend who has been resisting, and her husband finally passed away, and she's just in not good shape physically, and she wouldn't make any changes over the last couple of years. We've talked to her to help her to get positioned so that she could handle the changes that were coming, but she wouldn't do it. Well, finally she was open to, because he had passed, we came down and talked with her, and one of the conversations that I had with her is the idea, this whole journey idea, and I said, right now, we all are, in our ages. I'm 75, and she was 84, so we're not that far apart. But I said, well, you're on a journey, and the idea of the journey of aging is the journey of letting go. The journey of aging is the journey of letting go. That's what it's about. We let go of things as we get older every day. And it's hard to do that. It's hard to get in that mindset. It's hard to let go of our stuff. And I've been through it over and over with people I worked with. I was working in the senior housing industry for a little while as a break from ministry. And you encounter these, it's just so hard to let go. To let go. And that's all we were asking her. She said, it's time to let go. And you could just feel but she did it. She let go. And she made the decisions that she needed to make, and she made them. We didn't make them for her. She made them. But all she had to do was let go, and Spirit moves in and fills that void with what she needed to make the transition that she needs to make. And all the people that need to show up showed up to help move this process along. And so that's the way it works. And letting go as a senior, Carrie and I, just about every day we get rid of something in the house. I'm committed to the idea that my kids are not going to have to go through all my junk. It's not going to happen. So we let go of something. It's a conscious process that we are involved in so we can, and if I buy something, I get rid of something. I'm not going to add more. Because our stuff takes energy. It takes energy to take care of our stuff. I was thinking a while back I was going to buy a travel trailer, and I thought, that's one more thing I have to take care of. I don't need to do that. I can stay in a hotel, or I'd probably rather do that anyway. So just things like that. We just think about, okay, how are we doing this aging process? How are we moving through it? Well, when we see it as a journey, when we allow Spirit to move within us, when we look at our stuff as not who we are, but and we begin to look at our stuff as what do I need to keep so that I can continue on my journey, we begin to see life differently, we begin to move differently, we begin to flow differently, and we begin to have Spirit move in us and tell us what to do and when to do it as an idea, as a thought, as a concept, as whatever it is that needs to show up within us. Jesus knew that his disciples needed to have confidence. Jesus knew that he wasn't going to be there. And so he knew his disciples needed to be able to, when he was gone, to have the confidence that Spirit would be there. And so he sent them out, not just his disciples, but I think it was 70 followers. He sent out into the villages to talk to people about the good news. I don't know if he called it good news, but to talk to people about what he was teaching them. And when he sent them out, he said to them, do not be anxious how you are to speak or what you are to say, for what you are to say will be given to you in that hour. For it is not you who speak, but the Spirit of your Father speaking through you. The Spirit of your Father speaking through you. That's what is occurring. The Spirit of the divine presence is speaking through you. The Spirit of God is moving through you. The Spirit of love is encapsulating you and allowing you to move forward in your life peacefully, lovingly, enthusiastically, just like the little 102-year-old lady, she knew her part. She had a role to play in the house, and she knew it, and she was filling it, and she was enjoying it. And so she made something that could be a challenge for most other people into something for her that was meaningful, and for others as well. I mean, I was going to adopt her as my grandmother. In the prophet Jeremiah, in Jeremiah 1-7, it says, if I tell you to go and speak to someone, then go. And when I tell you what to say, I won't leave a word out. I promise to be with you and keep you safe, so don't be afraid. This is the message, and my message especially, but the message in general that we have in unity and in life is very simple. The spiritual path and the message on the spiritual path is very simple. It's simple in the sense that it's all about God is good. It's all about goodness. It's all about God is good, not just some of the time, but all of the time. And when we talk about God, we don't talk about, we don't talk about somebody out here. It's not those guys up there. It's about the divine presence within us. That the divine presence within us is the Spirit of goodness. And when we call it forth, when we get ourself out of the way and let it move in us, then goodness comes forth from within us. The right words, the right actions, the right things that we do, the right decisions, the right adjustments to our life. We are there, we are where we need to be when we need to be there because we are paying attention and listening and allowing that goodness to move forth in our life. So God is good all the time. Not some of the time, but all of the time. So it's all good even if it isn't. Because it's coming from Spirit when we allow that Spirit to move. So we don't have to be theologians. We don't have to read the Bible. In fact, reading the Bible in some cases might be detrimental because we might get hooked up into something that might shift us in a different direction. For example, if you read the Ten Commandments or you read the book of Deuteronomy or Leviticus, you'll read books that are all about rules and regulations. This is what you do, this is what you don't do, and most of it's what you don't do. This is what you do. You can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do this, and all of a sudden you build a box that I can't do this and I can't do that. So the transition, and that's important, I guess, if you're trying to organize a group of people who are being difficult. You have to put a box around it and tell people you can kind of connect with people. But moving from the old into the new is, and Jesus basically said, all you have to do is love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. That's it. On those two commandments hangs the whole thing. You don't need, once you step into that consciousness, once you love the divine presence within, call it forth, and bring that to other situations in your life, to other people in your life, to providing support and help and encouragement and words that are uplifting and so on and so forth. Once you bring that forth into the world, then you are loving your neighbor as yourself. So, and it's not that loving ourselves is a narcissistic love. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about an appreciation for who we are as a spiritual human being, to the extent that we appreciate who each other is as a spiritual human being. That's where that kind of love comes forth. And so we don't need the Ten Commandments. We don't need all the rules and regulations to live a spiritual life. We don't need it. I mean, if you enjoy studying it and you enjoy the historical part of it and you enjoy just learning, then great. But it's unnecessary for us to live a powerful, spiritual, loving, open life of goodness and joy and harmony and peace and accomplishment, which is why we're here, is to do that kind of thing and to stretch ourselves out and do things that are not necessarily easy for us to do. I wasn't excited about going to Tucson to help Donna, Carrie's friend, because I knew what we were going into. But once I got there and I let go of my own, I don't want to do this stuff, it all came together. And I found myself on the phone talking to the VA, trying to get her VA benefits straightened out, talking to Social Security, trying to get her Social Security. I mean, these are just all practical things, right? But it's all part of the journey. And so I would get a VA person on the line, and my first feeling about calling somebody from the VA was that, oh my gosh, I was going to deal with some bureaucrat that was going to give me a hard, you know, how the kind of the thing. So I get somebody on the line. Oh, how can I help you? Oh, and it's just so nice. You know, the person was so nice and walked me right through the stuff. It was great. And the more I did it, the more confident I got. And then I called the Social Security Administration, and then I making other phone calls to other places for her. And over that week's time, we got all of her stuff figured out. All of her finances figured out, everything together for her so she could make an adjustment and do it peacefully. And it was such a joy. But I didn't want to do it to start with, because I knew that it was going to be all-consuming, and I knew that it was going to be difficult. And I was going to miss my golf game on Thursday. Isn't that what it's like, right? So, but when we step forward, things shift and change. And so that's really the message today. It's not just about listening, it's about knowing the truth. And the simple truth is that there's only one presence and one power, and that's God the good, and that presence and power is within us. It is not separate from us, and that we are part of this divine experience of life, and we hear it over and over again. I mean, I need to remind myself just about every day, because it's so easy to forget in a given moment and in a given situation. You know, on the way back, Carrie and I were on the plane, and I said, how many brownie points do I get for this trip? She said, you just lost them by asking that question. So anyway, there's an interesting story. It's all good, right? Even there's an interesting story about two disciples of an old rabbi who were arguing about the true path to God. And one said that the path was built on effort and energy, that you must give yourself totally and fully with all your effort and follow the way of the law, to pray, to pay attention, to live rightly. The second disciple disagreed. So it is not effort at all. That is only based on ego. It is pure surrender. To follow the way to God, to awaken, is to let go of all things and live the teaching. Not my will, but thine. So they could not agree on this, who was right. And so they went to see the master. And he listened, and the first disciple praised the path of wholehearted effort. And when asked by this disciple, is this the true path? The master said, you are right. The second disciple was quite upset and responded eloquently regarding the path of surrender and letting go. And when he had finished, he said, is this not the true path? And the master replied, you are right. And the third student, who was sitting there, said, but master, they can't be both right. And the master smiled and said, you are right. We're all right? It's all the path. It's all what you want it to be. It's all what you make it to be. It's all how it works for you, how your personality, you work it out, and you follow that path. I brought my books again today. I didn't know if there would be anybody here that hadn't already bought one, but I have two books. One is Heaven is Walking the Spiritual Path, and it's a series of lessons that help us not to tell us what to think or do, but to stimulate our own thinking. So to get us to start asking the questions in our own right. That's kind of the intention of it. And the other one is my journey on the Camino de Santiago, which is kind of a following a path that is difficult and challenging, and that challenged me, and then finding my way through it. And so it kind of puts those principles kind of to work in the path. And one of the things about the Camino is that there's a common phrase that when somebody's having a difficult time, they say, well, the Camino will provide. So a pilgrim will be walking along and they're having trouble, and they say, well, the Camino will provide. Well, I can't find a bed tonight. Well, the Camino will provide. And it always does. Somebody always shows up and somebody always steps in. I lost my power cord, and my feet were really bad, and I couldn't get to the place to get one. And so I asked this Swedish lady, I said, can I borrow your power cord? She happened to have an iPhone cord. She goes, sure. Just keep it. We have a couple extra, so just keep it. So I had a power cord. Camino provides. Well, we know that here in Unity. Spirit provides. And so if we're willing to step forward, Spirit, we're going to call Spirit forward in our life, and Spirit will provide exactly what we need, when we need it, at the right time, maybe the last minute, but you'll be given what it is that you need. And doing that, you are truly letting God speak. So God bless you, and thank you for having me today. And Christine, it's all you.
Well, I'm going to invite you to stand and sing along with this if you'd like to. It's a song by Ken Medema, Teach Me to Stop and Listen.
Teach me to stop and listen. Teach me to center down. Teach me the use of silence. Teach me where peace is found. Teach me to hear you calling. Teach me to trust your word. Teach me to hear in silence. Teach me to be collected. Teach me to be in tune. Teach me to be directed. Silence will end so soon. And when it's time for moving, grant it that I may bring to every day and moment peace from a silent spring. And when it's time for moving, grant it that I may bring to every day and moment peace from a silent spring. Peace from a silent spring.
Thank you. Oh, Stephen, I just want to thank you so much for that talk. I know we're going through a lot of change, many of us are, and just getting back to basics brought me such ease and peace, and I hope that talk gave that to you as well. That was beautiful. Thank you. We'll do announcements now. Tuesday night, we're having meditation, 6 to 7 p.m., starting June 11th. So if you're ready for a new meditation experience, you all are welcome. And we also have another one. We have a treat sign up. I'll leave this over by the food today. But I'll leave this over by the food today so we can sign up for treats for the next couple months. And then Reverend Stephen Colliday. If you would like to leave a message or memory for Reverend Steve Colliday, there is a link on the website that will take you directly to his page on Legacy, where you can leave messages, memories, and photos. Okay. All right, so we are going to do our love offering. Sharing your gifts with intention creates an energetic flow through your mind and heart, creating more abundance, both for the recipient and the giver. As we pass the offering bag, I invite you to hold your intentions in your mind. All right, so please join me in blessing these gifts as we affirm together our love offering statement together. Divine love in, through, and as me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. I invite you to place any prayer intentions into the box before you leave today, and our prayer team, along with Silent Unity, will pray for you for the next 30 days. In the chair. Okay. Thank you, Doug. All right, so we're going to welcome in our children now.
You are walking in the light, in the light, in the light. You are walking in the light of God. In the light, 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 in the light of God.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Today we decided we were going to brainstorm. Don't say the name. Brainstorm ways we can cheer people up when they're feeling down, or nice things we can do if they're struggling with something. And so I taught the kids about a certain thing that I learned at Unity when I was a kid. And they're going to hold them up. Do you remember what they're called?
Warm fuzzy.
Yes. Can you show them the warm fuzzies? So we wrote some messages to people. Yeah. Do you want to?
I'll read mine. The light of God surrounds you. The love of God enfolds you. The presence of God watches over you. Wherever you are, God is.
We forgot a line, but the prayer of protection.
I'll read Emily's.
It's the same one. And then
Somebody. This one.
we also learned about these little notes called Somebody Cares notes, where you put your thumbprint on a letter and send it to somebody. And then Emily wants to share something else they're planning.
We are going to.
I'll do it.
Okay, hurry up, because everybody's waiting.
So we're going to do a Mother's Day party next week.
We're going to do a Mother's Day party next week. Next Sunday.
So they spent some of today decorating for you guys, all you mothers.
You gotta stay up here. Okay. I invite the We're going to bless our children now. God loves you and accepts you just the way you are. And I love you and accept you just the way you are. I behold the Christ you are. And our children, if you'd like to bless us and accept you just the way you are. Accept you just the way you are. Hold the Christ in you. All right, so let us all stand and we'll join in the peace song. We will now say the prayer of protection. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever you are, God is.
All is well.
Thank you so much for being here today. Remember, you are loved and you are loved.
When I find myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. And in my hour of darkness, she is standing right in front of me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. Let it be, let it be, let it be, oh let it be. Whisper words of wisdom, let it be. And when the broken-hearted people living in the world agree, there will be an answer, let it be. For though they may be parted, there is still a chance that they will see. There will be an answer, let it be. Let it be, let it be, let it be, just let it be. There will be an answer, let it be. Let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. Whisper words of wisdom, just let it be. Let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. Whisper words of wisdom, let it be. And when the night is cloudy, there is still a light that shines on me. Shine until tomorrow, let it be. Well, I wake up to the sound of music. Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom. Let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. There will be an answer, let it be. Let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. There will be an answer, let it be. Let it be, let it be, let it be, just let it be. Whisper words of wisdom, just let it be.